Okay, hello. Thank you for joining us and welcome to this webinar. My name is Leh and I'll be your host today. And today we'll be talking about Ubuntu Pro. So what is so pro in Ubuntu Pro? Ubuntu Pro is a service that we launched at the beginning of the year, and we'll cover a bit more about the service and also a broader perspective. We'll give you a slightly broader perspective on what we do at Canonical and what Ubuntu platform can give you. Today with me, I have my colleagues, Rajan and Alex, and my name is Leh. I'm the product manager for Ubuntu Pro. Rajan, would you like to introduce yourself as well?
Thanks, Leh. Again, Rajan, I'm the product manager for Landscape and Livepatch. Landscape is a systems management tool, and Livepatch is a piece of software that will give you security patches for the Linux kernel. We'll talk about that more in this Ubuntu Pro webinar. I'll pass it off to Alex.
Hi, and yeah, so Alex Burridge, I'm the engineering director for security, and my team is responsible for the security updates, which can be received through Ubuntu Pro. So a lot of the value in Pro is in its security updates, and that's the technical work that my team does. But yeah, I'll pass it back to Lek.
That's exactly right. Thank you, Alex, and thank you, Rajan. A couple of housekeeping notes just before we start. So first, you can ask us questions. This webinar is live, so at the end, we'll hopefully have enough time to answer all your questions. The sooner you ask your question, the more chances you have that we'll be able to cover that in case there are a lot of questions there. This webinar is also recorded, so it will be available on demand if you like to look at it again, or if you're unsure about something, or if you want to share it with your colleagues and friends, you can also do that. And hopefully there are a couple of links that we uploaded to this webinar that should be available for you. So there is a link to the Ubuntu Pro page to learn more about the Ubuntu Pro offering. There is also a link to the FAQ that is on the discourse, where you can find other questions that were asked by the community and prospects and our customers, and those were answered there. And if you have your own questions, you can also ask them there, and we'll cover that. So this is live FAQ that I keep, I keep up to date. There is also a link to pricing page if you want to consider getting Ubuntu Pro for your enterprise. So getting a subscription to cover either the security updates or also cover the other products that come in the Ubuntu Pro subscription. And that also includes 24/7 phone and ticket support. And there is also a link to the contact form if you have a sales inquiry for us. But most importantly, I'll be also talking about how to get Ubuntu Pro totally for free for your personal use. So there is no need to pay for Ubuntu Pro for personal use up to 5 machines, and this will also be covered today. Okay, so moving on, I wanted to talk to you quickly about the agenda. The agenda is super simple today. We'll talk about Ubuntu Pro platform, just to be able to tell you what is coming, what is the difference that you get with Ubuntu Pro. We'll also take a step back to look at the open source adoption and some key challenges, especially in the enterprise context of adopting open source, what has been found by third-party studies, and how Ubuntu Pro can help you overcome those challenges. And specifically on Ubuntu Pro subscriptions, we'll be talking about the benefits of Ubuntu Pro, some of the features. Security updates, as Alex mentioned, is one of the biggest feature, but there are also other features and products of Ubuntu Pro, such as Livepatch and Landscape that Rajan will cover, and also some of the additional packages and tooling that will help you to stay compliant with your regulations, whether you're operating in FIPS or FISMA or HIPAA standards, and you need to comply with those requirements. We have FIPS certified modules, and we also offer CIS and disassisted hardening if you need to get your operating system hardened in order to comply with your regulations. So all of those things are also part of Ubuntu Pro subscription, and we'll cover that as well. Okay, so now let's jump straight in and talk a little bit more about Ubuntu itself. So Ubuntu is a great platform for innovators, enthusiasts, developers, and system administrators. It provides a stable, trusted operating system used by a wide community and supported by Canonical. And if you think about what Ubuntu consists of, is the collection of open source components that are put together, tested, maintained, and supported by us. And those components sit in two repositories: the Ubuntu main repository, which consists of over 2,000 Debian packages, and then you have the Ubuntu Universe repositories with approximately 10 times more packages. And when I talk 2,300 and 23,000, it really depends on the version of the Ubuntu LTS you're running. So probably those numbers are closer to our older versions, still supported by older, such as 1604, for example, that was released in 2016. Because these days we are way over 30,000 packages in Ubuntu Universe. So in fact, you can see that in terms of the number of packages that are available for our users, there is some inflation going on, as like everywhere else, because number of packages is just increasing. But it also means that our users get more and more packages potentially that they can use in their project or in their work, and that will also include a lot of dependencies that they will need in order to put together their products and their applications. What Ubuntu Pro would give you is an additional security patching. So Ubuntu LTS provides security patching for the main repository. So as you can see here, the Ubuntu LTS covers this orange part of the picture. So this is Ubuntu main for the initial 5 years. And then if you need to extend to the full coverage of also the packages in the universe, or if you want to extend this coverage for additional 5 years, so to get Ubuntu main packages covered for the full 10 years of the lifetime of Ubuntu LTS, you need to add an Ubuntu Pro subscription on top of that. And Ubuntu Pro subscription is not, well, Ubuntu Pro is not a different release, or it's not a different Ubuntu, it's just a subscription on top of your existing Ubuntu LTS. And by adding this subscription, you're just unlocking additional features and unlocking access to additional products that Canonical provides. And this would be the security patching, the kernel life patch, landscape, those certification for compliance that I mentioned earlier, and so on. So there is actually later on I have a summary slide for you to show you all the features available with Ubuntu Pro subscription, but those would be the ones that are the most popular ones. Ubuntu Pro is not really taking anything away from Ubuntu LTS, so all the promises that were done for Ubuntu LTS before are still valid. I've seen quite a lot of concerns from the community asking, oh, is Ubuntu now paid, or is anything changing with my existing installations of Ubuntu LTS? And the answer is no. Ubuntu Pro is just an additional set of features that you can unlock on top of your Ubuntu LTS, and also you don't necessarily have to pay for it. There are certain class of use cases where you are required to pay for your subscription, but for personal use, up to 5 machines or up to 50 machines, if you're part of the Ubuntu community, you can use it absolutely free of charge. So there will be no payment required for those use cases. You might be wondering if you're using any packages coming from the Universe repository, because when you install packages, it doesn't necessarily you don't necessarily see specifically which repositories you're pulling from. So you can run this command, the pro security status, in your CLI, and this will tell you on this particular machine how many packages you have installed from different repositories. And also it will give you some highlights about the timelines of the support or security maintenance for the repositories that you have installed, depending on which Ubuntu LTS version you're running. And this will also point out to you that you can get this free personal subscription, as I mentioned, on up to 5 machines, and it will point you in the right place. So to go to Ubuntu Pro homepage and start your registration there. On this particular screenshot, you can also see that it highlights that I have 1 pending security update. So there is an immediate value for me on this particular machine to launch Ubuntu Pro or to upgrade to Ubuntu Pro today, because I will be getting a security update today on this machine that I would not be getting otherwise without the subscription. And even if you don't have any pending security updates, I urge you to try to run this command and to find out how many packages you have installed from the universe, and this will potentially give you a coverage for security updates when they become available, so that you don't have to then spend time on registering and upgrading, but you will get security updates from the ESM repository straight away for your universe packages. There is also one more thing I wanted to mention here, which is that this screenshot provides you with number of packages, but that doesn't necessarily show you the list of packages, so you don't see the names of packages here. But if you run the same command, the prosecurity status command with the ESM apps flag, so if you want to see which packages would be covered if you had ESM apps enabled, so if you simply run prosecurity status --ESM-apps, it will list all the packages that you have installed from this repository that is covered with ESM apps subscription, and will also put in bold all the packages that have a pending security update today. I should probably explain what ESM stands for. ESM is Expanded Security Maintenance. So this is the service that gives you additional packages, security patching for the packages that is not available with Ubuntu LTS without a subscription. Moving on to the next slide, I'm using some data from third party. Actually, I'm not sure why it's not shown on the slide, but this is from the open source software supply chain survey report by Tidelift. So this is just a screenshot from Tidelift's report. And this is 2022, so this is from last year. As you can see, they have quite a few surveyors that they had discussed this with, almost 700. And the question was, what are the key challenges when using open source? This was mostly in the enterprise environment for enterprise use cases. And as you can see that they have highlighted quite a few challenges that they're facing. Over 50% of people said that the key challenge for them is identifying and resolving security vulnerabilities. So this is exactly the ballpark of what we're trying to address with Ubuntu Pro. There are also some others, like making good decisions about when to upgrade components and frameworks, making good decisions about which components and versions to use, unclear which open source components are safe and approved at my organization, and so on. So looking at those results, let me maybe pause here and ask my co-participants, Rajan and Alex, what do you think about those results, and do you have any comments?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, those first couple of results, because I think they're very much speaking to the same question or the same issue that people have. Is there is a kind of a huge variety of open source that is out there in terms of different packages and different versions, and it's very hard to get a consistent set of information about those packages. So kind of making informed decisions and making sure you're not kind of walking into a trap or going into something unsuspected is a very hard thing to do, I think, in general in the open source community, and taking away a lot of that uncertainty, and that is a large part of what Ubuntu in general tries to do, and Ubuntu Pro is kind of taking that to the next level. So yeah, kind of providing a single unified consistent messaging platform is a big part of the Ubuntu offering.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see, making good decisions about when to upgrade components and frameworks is as high as it is. That choice is greatly simplified when using an operating system like Ubuntu, because it is a point release distribution, as opposed to tackling that problem in an even more complex environment if it was like a rolling release. But I think if people had a competent systems management solution in place, then it would make it even easier to approach this challenge.
I think that if you're pulling your components from multiple sources, especially if you're pulling it directly from the upstream, or if you're using multiple vendors, then you will never have a consistent set of commitments from them, and you will always struggle to figure out what's still supported and what's not, and which versions you should move to, because other teams in your organization might be depending on the features that are not available yet, or maybe there will be some legacy dependencies. So I can see how this could be quite complex in larger organizations, or if you have a particularly messy situation, even if you're like a small organization, if you're not consistent about the decisions that you're making early on with your, when setting up your project. Okay. And moving to the next one, this is from the State of Open Source Security report that was done by the Linux Foundation. So this is the last third-party data point that I wanted to share with you today to kick off this discussion. An average project has 69 dependencies, so quite a lot of dependencies in the projects that are compiled for in enterprise use cases. But even more worrying is that on average, an organization needs 98 days to apply a fix to a vulnerability. That was quite shocking to me when I first read it, and I still think it's an unacceptable number for the industry. But Alex, I'll be keen to know what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you're right that this is not a situation that anyone would want to be in, but I think it's completely understandable. If you think of a large project with lots of different components and dependencies and so on, and if you're not confident about applying a fix, what changing a component implies is that you have to do a huge amount of kind of regression testing and so on, and that is often companies just want their products or their services to just continue working, and taking this kind of approach to risk instability is often a very hard thing for them to do. And so yeah, it's certainly not a good situation, but I think it's kind of understandable that if you don't have confidence in the components that you're picking up, then you'll be very slow to integrate them into your production environment. And so, yeah, if I can kind of take that forwards and start talking about the Canonical offering or the Ubuntu Pro offering. For each of the security updates that we publish, they come along with an Ubuntu Security Notice, or USN. These are all available on ubuntu.com, on our website. And this gives the details of the fixes that we publish. So what you can see here is kind of a standard set of information, which is available on all USNs. This particular vulnerability, well, vast majority of vulnerabilities come with a CVE identifier. So that's a unique numerical ID that identifies a vulnerability and allows kind of different organizations to talk about the same vulnerability. So yeah, here we have CVE 2022. 37454, which is a security issue in Python. And what you can see from this USN is that this affected the 1804 Ubuntu release. And yeah, this particular package, so this affected just Python 3.7. It didn't affect Python 2, which is the Python version that is in main for 1804. Python 3.7 is available in Universe. So when you look down at the bottom of the new versions of Python that are available, what you can see is that those updates are available through Ubuntu Pro. And so this is a good example of if you are running an older Ubuntu release, so in this case 1804, but you're using newer infrastructure on top of that. So in this case, yeah, Python 3. What Ubuntu Pro does in this example is enable you to continue to have a secure and stable environment to work on. And so there are, Leg highlighted earlier that there are a number of different concerns and barriers to adopting open source usage. And what I've tried to do here is capture the variety of different benefits that come with using Ubuntu, and in particular with using Ubuntu Pro. So one of the goals that was highlighted is the different set of release schedules and timelines and commitments that come with taking your open source from a variety of different open source vendors. And so the Ubuntu Pro approach here is that we have a standard set of commitments. We support all of our LTS releases for 10 years. We have a new LTS release every 2 years. The packages that are in main and Universe are very stable, and Canonical have been supporting Ubuntu for 17 plus years now. And so what you can get from using Ubuntu is a very strong sense of reliability that we have been doing this for a very long time, and those commitments haven't changed over that course. So in fact, the only way that they have changed is that they've become stronger. So yeah, that's the kind of predictability and consistency that we aim to provide with Ubuntu. The next goal is kind of stability. So what, as I mentioned, is a barrier to upgrading components is often that changing a component to fix a security vulnerability often changes other features as well, where you don't necessarily want the newer features or you don't want the changes in behavior. What you just want is the security fix. And so the approach that we take in Ubuntu Pro is that we backport just the security fixes to the versions that we support. So when you pick up a release of Ubuntu, then you know that the packages within that will keep their functionality consistent for the lifetime of that release. And the only changes that you will consume are the security fixes that we provide. So that dramatically reduces the regression testing that needs to be done by our customers, and also dramatically reduces the risks of any unexpected regressions being introduced into your products. Another issue when it comes to open source security is there are hundreds and thousands of different vulnerabilities out there, and there's this kind of entire soup of information, and it's very hard to know where to begin. And so what we have in Ubuntu, and specifically for Ubuntu Pro, is a security triage process whereby we prioritize the issues based on how those packages function within Ubuntu. So rather than looking at a package in isolation or thinking about how it might work, we have a very specific environment that those packages are working in, and there are hardening measures and environments and so on. Those assumptions come with using Ubuntu. And so what we can provide is a very specific prioritization of the security issues for Ubuntu Pro that allow our users to make sure that we are working on the issues that are most likely to be affecting them. And then the last kind of item that I wanted to call out is the coherency story. So when you're picking up your open source from lots of different sources, you have the question of, will all of these versions work together? And if I upgrade one of these packages, will it break when it's working with something that I picked up from another source? And this is kind of a very common story. Open source is delivered and is available in a number of different ways, and it's quite common. It's the whole issue of, oh, well, it works on my machine, why doesn't it work on everyone else's machine? Well, that's because you're testing, slightly different dependency trees and slightly different sets of packages. And so what Ubuntu Pro brings is a very stable, consistent set of packages that we have tested and validated that they all work together. So if you're using Ubuntu and then you need to add a new package that you haven't previously been using, you can rely on the fact that it will coexist and work neatly and without issue with the other packages that you're already using. So this is kind of the security story, the security and stability that comes with relying on Ubuntu Pro. And so I will now pass it back to Lek.
Well, I'll chime in here. While you were on the topic of Ubuntu Pro benefits, there are two additional Ubuntu Pro benefits I'd like to touch on here. We've got the Livepatch service, and we've got Landscape. Now, both of these solutions are available on a software as a service model, and also as software that you can self-host on premises or in public cloud. So first, I'll talk about kernel Livepatch. So with over 30 million lines of code, the Linux kernel is an engineering marvel. It's responsible for managing resources, optimizing processor usage, and avoiding deadlocks. And despite these complex requirements, it has a long-standing reputation of being very stable. But with 25 patches arriving to the stable kernel per day, Livepatch gives your security team the agility that it needs. So Livepatch is available with Ubuntu Pro, and it patches critical and high security vulnerabilities on running systems. So it allows you to defer your reboot to the next scheduled maintenance window by applying the patch in memory. The patch is also written to disk, and you can test this by killing the power to your machine. And when it boots up, you're going to boot up with a securely patched kernel. You can live patch any machines, virtual or physical, in any environment. It's possible to self-host the live patch server, and this gives you the ability to control the distribution of your patches. So this diagram here shows how high availability workloads can benefit from live patch. As a twist, this diagram also shows how live patches can be applied in air-gapped environments. So if you view the thick vertical line as a network barrier, as long as you have a way of getting the live patch data into your live patch on-prem installation, you can divide up your estate across multiple clusters and group these machines and distribute your live patch updates to specific groups to ensure that your high availability workloads can run uninterrupted. So in addition to live patch, you also have access to Landscape by way of Ubuntu Pro. And Landscape is the leading management and administration tool for Ubuntu. So system administrators will use Landscape to control hybrid or multi-cloud infrastructure, everything from servers to desktops. And Landscape provides granular control at enterprise scale for machine inventory, software packages and repositories, policy and software profiles. It'll track your running processes on your machines. You can use it for scripting and automation. And it also provides alerts and monitoring capabilities. And you can also manage users and extract reports about your machines. So if we were to log into Landscape, at login, you're going to be presented with this kind of a summary screen. So you can see on this screen that we've got two computers that have ESM disabled. So if you remember earlier, Lek and Alex both talked about the expanded security maintenance. So if we have these 9 machines enrolled in Landscape, you've got a Debian 11 instance, and then you've got various Ubuntu flavors ranging from 14.04 all the way up to 22.04. These are a mishmash of containers, virtual machines, physical machines, and also across various architectures from AMD 64 to ARM 64. So if we click on the Packages tab at the top right, we can see what software is installed in the machine. There's a search bar at the top. So if we type Landscape Client, we can see what version of Landscape Client is installed across all of these machines. You can see that the current version that is installed, and you can see if there is an option to upgrade or downgrade the package. But let's take a look at what the Ubuntu Pro outputs are when you have Landscape Client installed on your Ubuntu machine. And if you run the Pro Client command in a single Ubuntu machine, you're presented with a table that looks like this. And if you needed access to this at scale, Landscape gives you this information about all of your machines. What entitlements does each machine have? What entitlements are enabled? And what is the status of your Ubuntu Pro subscription? So if we jump back to the Packages tab, and we are presented here with a list of what security issues are present on our estate. Recall that we had machines that had Ubuntu Pro and machines that did not have Ubuntu Pro. And we also had that straggler, the Debian instance, which also doesn't have Ubuntu Pro. You can notice that there are security issues affecting several computers. Now, if you have Ubuntu Pro, then there is going to be actionable, some actionable thing that you can do to resolve the security issues that you have on those machines. So let's look deeper into what machines are impacted. If we look for a package called AppPort, we notice that we've got 2 USNs available for AppPort on the 16.04 Pro instance and on the 1404 Pro instance. We also had 1604 and 1404 LTS instances that did not have Ubuntu Pro in our estate. And now they didn't have the access to the ESM repository where you download these security updates from, so they don't appear on this list. But if you were to click on this up arrow, then it would upgrade the packages on the machines that do have Ubuntu Pro. If we search for the AppPort package and look at what version is installed and what updates are available across all of the machines, and we don't just limit ourselves to looking at where packages can be upgraded. Now here you see that there are the Ubuntu 1404 LTS instances at the very bottom, and then right above it you see the Ubuntu 1404 LTS Pro instance. Now the Pro instance has the patch that can be applied, whereas the 1404 LTS instance shows that the patch is available, but there is no actionable means to apply that patch unless Ubuntu Pro was enabled on that particular machine. So Landscape is useful to give you an overview in terms of what your security posture looks like, and it helps you achieve compliance across your entire Ubuntu estate, where if you are not applying security patches, you have clear visibility into where these security patches are not applied and what machines do not yet have the Ubuntu Pro coverage. I'll pass this over to Lek.
Thank you, Rajan, and thanks, Alex. On this next slide, I wanted to mention the compliance. So if you're operating in a regulated industry, such as FedRAMP or for pharmacy industry and so on, you might benefit from Ubuntu Pro because it provides you with tools and services that will help you to comply with those specific requirements. I already mentioned FIPS certified modules and additional hardening for Ubuntu that is compliant with DISASTIC or CIS. And also, I wanted to cover the pricing. So as I mentioned, first, pricing is really simple and transparent, and it's publicly available, so you don't have to call us to get the pricing. It's laid out on our website, and you can go there right now and find all of the different configurations and prices. Here is a simplified version for you. So to simplistically speaking, personal use is free of charge, up to 5 machines or up to 50 machines also if you're a Ubuntu community member. And this is for your software only, so self-support, because there is also option with up to 24/7 phone and ticket support that is used by our enterprise customers, the biggest enterprise customers, especially for their production environments. And then you have 2 or maybe 3 different levels of service. Then you can do it for your get Ubuntu Pro for your enterprise workstations. So desktops, if you operate workstations in your environment that are running Ubuntu, it's $25 per machine per year, or with support is $300 per machine per year. For physical servers with unlimited VMs, there is quite a few hypervisors. You can also find them on our website that are covered with Ubuntu Pro subscriptions. So if you run physical servers with, you can also operate unlimited VMs, and they will all be Ubuntu Pro covered. As long as you cover your whole Ubuntu estate. This will be $500 per machine per year with software only, or between $1,775 to $3,400 with full 24/7 support. And the bandwidth here is depending on what do you need the support for. Is it just the Ubuntu operating system and the underlying infrastructure, such as open or self-storage? Or do you also need support for the applications you're running on top? And finally, on public clouds, the cost of Ubuntu Pro is on average 3 to 4% of the cost of the underlying VM. So it relates to the compute that you're running on, and this will be true for Google Clouds, AWS, and Azure. So the 3 most popular public clouds, they can offer you Ubuntu Pro directly from their marketplace, and it will be charged on your public cloud billing. So you will actually be buying directly from the cloud. You will not need to add, for example, Canonical to the list of your approved vendors. You can buy it straight away, straight ahead from your public cloud. And if you also need support from Canonical, you can contact us, and we'll get the right offer for you for getting support as well on top of your Ubuntu Pro subscription. And finally, there are also volume discounts available, and there is also significant discounts for schools, research, and academia customers. So if you're one of these, please contact us, and we can tell you more about whether you qualify and what would be the level of discount for you. So quickly to summarize what's included in Ubuntu Pro: 10 years of security patching for all the packages in Ubuntu Main and Universe, kernel Livepatch and Landscape that Rajat presented earlier today, real-time kernel, which we haven't really covered here, but which is quite an interesting feature, only available right now with 2204, so the latest LTS, but this is quite an interesting feature for our industrial customers. And there's also NIST-certified FIPS crypto modules that I talked about, and USG hardening, so Ubuntu Security Guide hardening. This is giving you the CIS and disasstic profiles I mentioned. Another thing we haven't mentioned today, but it's also available with Ubuntu Pro subscription, is advanced Active Directory policies for Ubuntu Desktop. And you also get access to knowledge base, which covers a lot of things that our support has fixed for our existing customers. And if you don't have full support contract with us, you can still find a lot of answers to your questions in the knowledge base data. And if you want, you can also add optional phone ticket supports, and this comes with Ubuntu Assurance Program that ensures that all the software that we distribute has the proper licenses behind it, and you will not be at any legal risk by using the software that is provided to you by Ubuntu. And when I talk about support, what do I specifically mean? This is bug fix and break fix support. So this is assistance in troubleshooting and restoring your broken application, but also bug fix of issues that you find on Ubuntu and in the upstream software that we can fix for you. And this will include all of these elements of open infrastructure, such as OpenStack, Ceph Storage, MAS, LXD, and Kubernetes. All the packages in Ubuntu operating system and kernels. And on top of that, all the applications. So all the Debian packages, the 30,000 Debian packages in Ubuntu repositories. And this covers things like Python, Postgres, MySQL, Tomcat, Nginx, OpenJDK, Node.js, and their dependencies. Canonical maintained snaps that you can find on the link here, as well as Canonical maintained charms and OCI images that are published on either Docker Hub or ECR AWS gallery. And we all invite you to join thousands of users and many organizations that are already using Ubuntu Pro. So go to Ubuntu Pro website today and either buy or register. There is also a free 30-day trial available in the shop. So if you want to give Ubuntu Pro a try in your enterprise context, don't use your personal subscription for that. You can get up a full enterprise subscription with as many machines as you need. And it will not give you the full 24/7 support, but it will give you all the software needed for you in the enterprise context. So you can subscribe 200 machines today, and this will be free of charge for 1 month, during which you can try Ubuntu Pro for free. And with that, I think we can move on and answer some questions. Thank you both, Rajan and Alex. And I see that there are quite a few questions, and we still have a few minutes in this webinar, so maybe we can start answering some of them. The first one I see is about, probably it's for Alex. The question is, how are you updating packages that reach end of life, like OpenSSL or Python 2?
Yeah, so the majority of updates that we publish for all packages are those that have been authored by Canonical itself. So we are not merely redistributing updates that have been written in the upstream, but we are rather using those as a basis and then writing our own patches. So from that point of view, nothing changes when the upstream goes into end-of-life status. Now, clearly the focus of the community will be elsewhere, and kind of the the speed of turnaround and so on will be kind of impacted. So there will, Canonical builds on top of the work of the open source community, and so there will be an impact to the service. But in terms of the commitments that we make to address high and critical or medium high and critical vulnerabilities, that doesn't change. So yeah, when upstream projects go end of life, the Canonical commitments maintain and often exceed those of the upstream. So in the cases that were called out in the question, we will continue to support those for the full 10 years of the Ubuntu release lifecycle. Thanks, Larry.
Thanks, Alex. Rajan, the next one I think might be for you. Someone's asking is if it's possible to encrypt user and home folders through Landscape.
It's a good question. It is possible if you were to leverage the remote script execution capability of Landscape. Landscape allows you to run scripts as a privileged user, and you can use that capability to encrypt any folders, including the home folder of a machine. Going one step further, if you wanted to track in a searchable way at scale whether the folders have been encrypted on many machines, you can use custom metadata within Landscape to track whether this activity has been performed or not, and what the status of that folder's encryption is.
Okay. And the next one I think might also be for you, Rajan. Someone's asking if kernel Livepatch is available for all LTS versions of Ubuntu.
Yes. It may be related to another question where somebody was asking about live patches on 2304. I believe that Livepatch is available on all LTS releases, but the interim releases, we were talking about it, but at this point, I don't believe that there are any live patches available on interim releases.
Yeah, that's correct.
And if I can maybe just kind of expand on that a little bit. The approach that we take is that production environments should be based on LTS releases, and the Livepatch service that we provide is there to provide stability for those kind of high priority environments that are depended on for kind of production or enterprise use, where downtime is something that needs to be avoided at all cost. And so given that in the for those kinds of deployments, we would very strongly recommend relying on an LTS release and not an interim release. That's the reasoning behind why at the moment we don't provide Livepatch for interim releases.
Mm-hmm. Someone's also asking about setting up mirrors. So I guess that this is about using Ubuntu Pro in an air-gapped environment. So there are also ways to do that, and we can help you to set it up. So if you need to operate in an air-gapped environment, you can contact us, and we have ways for you to help you to deploy Ubuntu Pro, including all the security updates in an air-gapped environment. And someone's also asking about running on the virtual machines. So if you want to just cover virtual machines, it's also possible. So contact us and we can give you the offering for virtual machines only. But if you're running on physical machines, there is no limits. So unlimited processors, unlimited sockets. The only limit is number of physical machines. We are not counting sockets. Next one maybe for you again, Rajan, is about Landscape. So someone's asking if Landscape is only available for enterprise environments.
Landscape is available for everybody. You can self-host Landscape on a multipass virtual machine locally on your laptop. You can run it on a spare piece of hardware in your home or in a virtual machine in the cloud. There is a 10-machine trial limit on the downloadable version of Landscape. And if you have any Ubuntu Pro instances, it doesn't count against your per seat limit. So you can bring as many Ubuntu Pro machines into your self-hosted Landscape installation as you want. You can self-host Landscape on a single machine, or if you wanted to deploy Landscape in a high availability configuration, you can use Juju and do that as well.
Cool. Just looking at the questions, there is, I think, last questions we have, which is around, oh, someone actually has an issue. So someone is saying that their 2204 Jammy system has Ubuntu Pro enabled, and it gave ESM apps and ESM infra enabled, but Livepatch has a warning of current kernel not supported shown in the status. So the question is, should they downgrade to the previous kernel, or will this kernel be supported with kernel Livepatch? So I think that's the question about the GA kernel versus the HWE kernel.
Yeah, I'm not sure I fully understand that question, because I know that the 5.19.0 is the kernel, well, is a kernel that is supported on top of 2204. So there should be no need to downgrade away from 5.19. That will be supported on 2204. Now, that doesn't necessarily answer the question, which is why the warning is being shown if current kernel is not supported. And I'm not sure at this stage I can answer that. But
yeah, it's also helpful to know if this is running on public cloud or where this kernel came from. I think it might be advisable to open up a support ticket, and we can certainly get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, and if you want us to continue to chat with you as well, you can post it in the FAQ if you think that it's a bug. There is an Ubuntu Pro FAQ link, or at least it should be there. So if you go there and you give us a bit more context, we might be able to help. And if you're an existing customer, you can open a support ticket, and you'll get even more professional support service from our support team. I guess that these are all the questions that we had time for today. Thank you again very much for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, and have a great day. Good to have you here. And thank you, Rajan and Alex, for participating.
Thanks,
everybody.